Today is Tuesday, August 11th, 2020. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, the wait is over. California Senator Kamala Harris is Joe Biden's pick to be his vice presidential running mate. We will unpack this with two panels. In addition, we'll talk to a variety of folks on what this means for Kamala Harris becoming the first black woman on a major presidential ticket. There's a reason why I'm wearing unbought and unbossed. That was the slogan of Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, who ran for president in 1972. Folks, we're going to break it all down for you. It is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time. And it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
Folks, the wait is over. Senator Kamala Harris of California becomes the first black woman to be on a major presidential ticket after she was picked today by Vice President Joe Biden to be his running mate. She, of course, ran against him in the Democratic primary. There were some tough battles between them in various debates, but it all boiled down to him realizing that she was the best person to go against Donald Trump and Mike Pence in November. In fact, this was the tweet that Joe Biden sent out. He said, "I have the great honor to announce that I picked Kamala Harris, a fearless fighter for the little guy and one of the country's finest public servants, as my running mate." That was a tweet that he sent out at 4:17 p.m. Eastern on today. There was so much speculation as to who was he going to pick. Among the folks who were on his short list, United Nations Ambassador Susan Rice, who served with him in the Obama administration. Also, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Tammy Duckworth. You had Congresswoman Val Demings, Congresswoman Karen Bass. You also had Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. But it all came down to Senator Kamala Harris. All right, folks, let's get going right to it with our panel. First up, I want to bring up somebody who is quite happy, Reese Colbert, Black Women's Views. Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, she's a political analyst. We have Janice Mathis, National Council of Negro Women, and also Drew Comments. Y'all know Drew. He was one of the big-time male supporters of Senator Kamala Harris. Reese, I might as well start with you. You have been riding with Senator Kamala Harris from day one. You got to be a little excited today.
I am over the moon, excited. I got my Kamala Harris side-eye shirt. I'm side-eyeing everybody who wasn't down with Kamala for day one. But guess what? It's water under the bridge because she is the vice presidential nominee. So welcome aboard the Kamala train. Welcome aboard.
Obviously, Avis, Joe Biden had lots of great choices. He was under intense pressure from African Americans to pick Senator Kamala Harris, especially black women. Look, many people say he made the right call in the end, but trust me, this could have gone a whole different way.
It could have gone, I'm going to try not to be salty in the way that he didn't have control over his people leading up to this. But so I'm going to let it go. But at the end of the day, he made the right choice. As you mentioned, this was the best choice that he can make. If you look at all the different variables in which he seems to be leading Trump in the polls, the one that he seems to still be behind in is this issue of enthusiasm. And if you really want to get that base riled up, you need to make sure that you represent black women. And to have Kamala on there, not only as a black woman, but as a premier, and I would argue the premier black woman in politics today, you cannot have a better choice. So congratulations to her, but also congratulations to him.
Janice Mathis, I want to bring you in. Bottom line is this here. Black women they vote they vote Democrat at a higher rate than anybody else in the country. And so Joe Biden could not risk the wrath of that powerful voting bloc.
Well, he certainly did not want to risk it. And when you think about it, except for the fact that she has some African heritage, her being chosen would make more sense than anything. She had 80% approval rating. Her favorability rating was higher than Elizabeth Warren's. She brings a part of the country that he's not as familiar with. She's got a sort of pragmatic law and order point of view from having been a prosecutor and attorney general. And so what about it except the fact that she happened to be a black woman would disqualify her?
Drew, I'll bring you in. You put out a number of videos that even got the attention of Senator Harris, where you went after people who were critical of her record as Attorney General in California, as well as DA in San Francisco. Clearly, Republicans want to use that against her. The White House, they believe that they can get black male voters. What do you think she's going to be under, the kind of attack she's going to face over the next 80-plus days?
Well, the kind of attack, first of all, hold up. This is the energy that we're on right now, you know what I'm saying? We go ahead and just break out the exclusive Kamala drip, you know what I'm saying? You dig what I'm saying? But the kind of attacks that she's going to be under, I can just see it now. It's either going to be the same 6 or 7 now debunked tropes that we've been going at, you know, for the last year and some change, which is fine because we've already beat that. We've already got literature out. We've already got videos and all that. So that's one of the advantages here. We already know it's going to be thrown at him. Or, and this is the indication I got today, is that his whole thing is going to be trying to classify her as this radical left, anti-police, bought into the entire abolish police movement, and just to try to play on the fears of white folk who look at police as protectors. But you got a problem with that because the last 2 years, all we heard every day is Kamala's a cop. And so now you got to try and pull another 180 to say, well, is she soft on crime, or is she the tough on crime prosecutor? Is she anti-police, or is she a cop? So the messaging, he's got a real challenge. That's why this is the best pick ever. I'll say ever. Let me not do that. Maybe I'll say ever. That's okay. We go ahead because I'm representing black women right now. But like he doesn't know how to handle it. It's an awkward situation to be in. Your boy Pence is about to walk into a blender. One of my fellow Aggie alums put that on Twitter. But yeah, they can throw what they want at her, but at the end of the day, they don't know what to throw. Everything's pretty much going to bounce off because you had the left coming at her with one thing that wasn't true. He's going to try to come up the other direction. It's confusing.
Look, here's the deal. The reality is this here. It's going to be a top-of-the-ticket battle, Janice. It's going to be a top-of-the-ticket battle between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Look, I know folks talk a lot about what a VP means, but the reality is voters are choosing between those two. In the case here, what Joe Biden obviously needs is he needs somebody who can go out and prosecute the case. I'm using that word for a reason. Typically, the vice presidential candidate is the one who goes out and they are the attack dog. They're the ones who to really go after the opposition. Look, you put a former prosecutor in that place. Look, we see what she has done in the United States Senate in these various hearings. We're going to see a whole lot of the prosecutor in Senator Kamala Harris prosecuting the Trump administration on the campaign trail.
She seems at most at ease when she's in that Senate Judiciary hearing room. That's when you see the real authentic Kamala. She goes after those issues, and not just with passion, but with a deep understanding of those complex judicial issues. She'll be great on judicial picks. I'm thinking more about what she's going to be like as vice president and what portfolios he's going to be able to give her. She can take on pattern and practice investigations. She can take on judicial nominees. She can take on criminal justice reform. She'll have a whole portfolio of work that she'll be able to take away from him and make it easier for him to govern. I think it's a wonderful pick. And not just because I'm happy about it, but because it's the pragmatic thing for him to do. Nobody will be able to say in this election the Democrats are taking black folk for granted. How many times have we heard that?
Right. Well, Reese,
Right.
first of all, I know Janet is always already thinking about her portfolio if they win, not me. I believe you deal with one step first. The concern is, can they win? And so, what do you expect this campaign to be like already? The Trump people are already attacking her. I got this email. I had to laugh when Paris Denard sent this email out. I just want to, this is what RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel said. A hiding, diminished, and incoherent Joe Biden didn't just select a vice presidential candidate. He chose the person who would actually be in charge the next 4 years if he is somehow able to win. Kamala Harris's extreme positions, from raising taxes to abolishing private health insurance to comparing law enforcement officials to the KKK, show that the left-wing mob is controlling Biden's candidacy just like they would control him as president. These radical policies might be popular among liberals, but they are well outside the mainstream for most Americans. We're going to see a lot more of that over the next 80 days.
Well, and that's where it was very, very wise of Joe Biden to pick somebody who has a national profile like Senator Kamala Harris does. I mean, she has been on the Colbert Show. She has been all over media for the past several months, really leading the charge on the coronavirus response from the Senate Democrats. She's led the charge on the criminal justice response. And so it's going to be incredibly hard to paint this extreme narrative about a person that's pretty well known and, as Janice pointed out, very popular throughout the country. What this is a competence pick, it's a pragmatic pick, and it's a substantive pick. It really benefits Vice President Joe Biden to have somebody like Senator Kamala Harris, who is actually providing a blueprint with her Senate work and how the Joe Biden administration can tackle the very real crisis, the pandemic that we're experiencing, the racial pandemic that we're experiencing with Black Lives Matter and the criminal justice movement. And so they're going to have a hard time painting her the way that they want to paint her, because there's too much meat in her record, too much substance in what she's been pushing for, and she's too well known. And another benefit that she brings is she has the cultural competency to go into spaces that Joe Biden has struggled with. You know, he made the gaffe about Black people not being as diverse as Latino people, but Kamala Harris can go into AAPI spaces, she can go to Latino spaces, she can go to the Native American community spaces, and she can go to Black spaces, and of course, white spaces. She can do it all. She can prosecute the case. And more importantly, she can give people an affirmative, inspirational vision for what a Biden and Harris administration would mean for everyday people.
I want to do this here. Anthony, pull the audio up. This is the session that we shot in Atlanta after the debate in 2019 with Higher Heights. Let's take a listen to this conversation.
And so for me, as I look at, what lies ahead, it's, again, in my testimony, in the faith and the promise of the work, of the intent, of the impact, of the influence, and bringing others along, because I honestly have seen by witness and favor that it can be done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so
yes, please.
Yeah, so, it's about the work. Again, here we are in Atlanta. When my dad ran to be the first African-American elected from the Deep South since Reconstruction, we didn't have early voting. We didn't have online registration. We didn't have Sunday and Saturday voting. We voted on a Tuesday, and the day of election, it was the pouring rain.
Folks, we're going to play some more of that video a little bit later. Avis, even though we're operating now in a whole different world, that, of course, where you had a bunch of people who were in a hotel room, who were packed there, now we're operating in this different space now with coronavirus. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. Senator Kamala Harris really leaning in on going after Black women, positioning their voices to turn out, because what Joe Biden needs, look, there was a 2.4% drop in 2016 among Black voters. Mm-hmm. Look, Democrats know they're going to get a significant number of Black voters. What they need to do is actually increase Black voter turnout.
Absolutely. I mean, we know that, for example, what really was the secret sauce to President Obama's two successful campaigns was the black vote, led by the black women's vote. We know that what happened in the last presidential election was that there was that drop, as you mentioned. And so really what we needed was a particular candidate in terms of a VP candidate that would energize that base. And the base of the base in the Democratic Party is black women. Black women, as you know, have been very active in putting pressure on the Biden campaign to select a black woman. And here we are with Kamala Harris, the best of the best that he could select for that space. Now, I believe that we're going to see a great deal of rallying around her, not only around with black women in general, but specifically, you remember, she's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, have to shout out my sorors. They're going to really be out there pushing to make sure they do everything possible. You have black women in churches, black women in every space that you can imagine that are going to be energized, not just to get themselves to the poll on November 3rd, but to also make sure that their neighbors, their communities, this whole nation shows up in a powerful way to support her and this whole ticket on November 3rd.
Drew, I think America, if they don't know what pink and green looks like, they probably are going to get a real good view of that over the next 80 some odd days. And trust me, I tweeted this. If you hear a whole bunch of yelling, HU, you know, that's because a lot of Howard graduates happen to see one of their own. You're a graduate of a HBCU. And look, let's just be honest. There's going to be a lot of HBCU pride for them to be able to say an HBCU graduate would actually be vice president of the United States.
Well, that's absolutely correct. I mean, just recently we've had the entire conversation, at least as it pertains to athletics, about athletes coming out of high school, top tier athletes coming out of high school, maybe seriously start considering HBCUs, especially in terms of basketball. Maker, as a matter of fact, 5-star blue chip athlete, turned down UCLA, turned down Kentucky to choose Howard University. And one of the reasons he cited was Senator Kamala Harris for that, and also Thurgood Marshall, another great alum, and just the prestige that comes with that and the pageantry. So now that this is now moving from an athletic conversation where you're not talking about basketball or football players like Tariq Cohen or Daryl Johnson with the Buffalo Bills, but now you're moving into the political side. Now it's a more well-rounded conversation. And hopefully, my hope is that it trickles down into the high school ranks and where young kids are looking at and saying, wait a minute, you know, I can go to a historically black college university and still make it, not just on the court or on the field, but in any realm of life. One of the stats I don't think gets touted enough is that HBCUs are the number one producers of black professionals. So it's not that you have to turn your back on your own, or you have to say that, well, you know, the HBCUs, no one's going to take it seriously. No, people take it seriously, very seriously. That's where it comes from. I am actually particularly looking forward to, well, I'll say this, as a North Carolina A&T alum, you know, I let Howard have this one. You know, that's all right. That's all right. It's all me act love for this one moving forward. Ain't gonna tell him nothing. And we won't have a football season likely this year, so it's not like we can beat them on the field to silence that. So we're gonna deal with that for a while. That's all right. But I'm actually looking forward to seeing the reaction of what is called the MSM mainstream media, what they mean white corporate media, whatever you want to label it. The reaction they have to this Divine Nine culture, especially when they see, like you said, so much pink and green out, because we're going to see just more line jackets than you ever seen in your life at any event. Look, one of the things, listen, I went to a Kamala Harris rally out here in L.A., and one of the things, man, it's crazy. It feels like it's got very step show vibes to it. Like all the kids sit in their own section, they all got nail on. Like they there, like there. It doesn't matter where she goes. Like they're there. She was at Benedict College, matter of fact. And even in the small room, she spoke to the students there before, going on and speaking in mass. They even in the room, boom, you see line jackets, you see all that. And so there's an identifier there. And matter of fact, I actually have an entire album coming out called Kamala Harris for the Culture, where I'm actually explaining, like, no, she's not just for the people, but this is actually a culture. She's actually repping for the culture as well. One of those, aspects of it is her membership in Alpha Kappa Alpha. So I'm looking forward to the confusion from people who don't know what an AKA is. I'm looking forward to, I guess the reaction and just to see, and then, just to kind of see, what happens there. Sometimes a little agitation is a good thing. My only regret is that because of COVID-19, and I hope that everybody's still staying safe as much as possible, is that I'm not getting a step show before the inauguration, and my fried fish plate, my $12 fried fish plate ain't gonna happen. But that's all right. We'll go ahead and take it how we can take it, and I think that this is gonna be something to watch.
But here's the deal, though, Reese. We have to look at this reality that, look, there were a lot of black people. There were black people who were very critical of Senator Kamala Harris during the primary season. You had folks who questioning her blackness. You had people who were saying that she was tough on crime. You had them saying all of these things. They were saying, I mean, look, I'll go there. You had some folks whining and complaining that she did marry a black man. I mean, all that sort of stuff out there. And then when people, I already see some people, I'm looking on YouTube, they're like, yeah, what about our policies? Well, when you say policies, what do you think she's been talking about? We've had her on this show 3 or 4 times since the primary, since she dropped out, talking about policy, dealing with black-owned businesses in PPP, dealing with what's happening on the education side. And so the policy piece is going to be something that is important. And so they are still going to have to work for that black vote, again, to increase the numbers over 2016.
Absolutely, and nobody is more equipped with receipts than Senator Kamala Harris. Senator Kamala Harris just recently introduced a uterine fibroids research act, which provides $150 million in funding for uterine fibroids, which 9 out of 10 black women suffer from before the age of 50. It is the leading cause of black women having to get a hysterectomy. She has been a leader on the forefront of black maternal mortality. When it comes to the COVID crisis, she introduced the Racial and Ethnic Disparities Task Force to make sure that communities, particularly black and brown communities, are the ones who get the resources that are needed, the PPP, first access to vaccines and things of that nature. And I can go on and on and on. She has actually secured, not just talked about, but secured an additional funding, millions of dollars for HBCUs. She has introduced a litany of proposals that actually address things like, for instance, Ice Cube's contract for Black America. And so Senator Kamala Harris will have absolutely no problem articulating what will be done under the Biden-Harris administration. And as a matter of fact, before she was named as a vice presidential running mate, Joe Biden incorporated her Racial and Ethnic Disparities Task Force into his Black America agenda. And so if people really want to talk about policies, if people really want to get into the substance of it, Senator Kamala Harris is the perfect messenger for that, because she's been there and she's done that. And she actually knows how to talk to our communities, not the Cliff Notes, not the very surface level stuff, and then you can't get into it after that. She knows these things from the inside, from deep inside, because she's well studied on it, well versed on it, and she's actually put forth tangible solutions to close the black home ownership gap, to put more black teachers in schools, and I can go on and on and on. And so I think that what we're going to see here with Senator Kamala Harris is kind of the same thing that we saw with then Senator Barack Obama when he ran. There was a level of skepticism towards him. There was a level of the country's not ready for a black man to be president, but there was a rallying effect, particularly after he became the nominee. And I think that people will have a sense of pride once they take a second look at Senator Kamala Harris. Now you're starting to see people back off of the smears. Now you're starting to see people correct the record. Now you're starting to see journalism change their tone towards her. And so, yes, when Kamala Harris was getting 181,000 out of 200,000 attacks just for her alone after the debates, of course, people are going to have a negative impression. But her work and her visibility since the campaign has raised her profile. She is not disproportionately unfavored. And as a matter of fact, she has high favorables with black people. And so I don't see a problem with that whatsoever. She now has the biggest platform to really show people that she is the one who's going to look out for our community, for the people and for the culture.
Janice Mathis, you understand the need to get out to vote. We're in a different space now. We're in a digital world. You and I have talked in the past about, again, how do you mobilize people going from precinct to precinct? And so what is your advice to this Biden campaign, this Biden-Harris ticket, on how to turn people out in this coronavirus pandemic? What should black people be doing when it comes to the digital side in terms of being able to drive people to the polls?
I think the most important thing we have to do now, and this is very serious, we've got to anticipate that there will be widespread voter suppression. We've got to anticipate that what's going on with the post office is not a coincidence, attacks on mail-in voting. And I think we've got to challenge our white sisters. If they ever watched the President of the United States deal with April Ryan or deal with Yamiche Alcindor, this cannot be put on the backs of black women alone. Women who think that women deserve to be treated with respect and equality and dignity, this is a time where they're going to have to step up and not march the day after inauguration, but vote on election day. I think it's terribly important that we issue that challenge. We can't be expected to wrestle people to the ground to do for them what is in their best interest that they are not willing to do for themselves.
And Reese, Drew, Janice, as well as Avis, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us. We'll be chatting with you a lot more over the next 80 plus days. I certainly appreciate it, Janice. Thanks a lot. Folks, here is Senator Kamala Harris. Last time she appeared right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Here was our conversation. Now is Senator Kamala Harris of California. Senator, glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered. It has certainly been an unbelievable week. I went live last night and I said this. That news conference yesterday by the district attorney and the FBI was an abomination. You made people wait 2 hours to come out and say, we have nothing. Then the DA says that there's evidence that they've gathered that shows that there wasn't misconduct. Now all of a sudden, police station goes up in fire. People are out here protesting. Folks are here angry. Now they come back 24 hours and say, okay, we found enough. He's arrested. I said they were fired on Tuesday. If Chauvin had been charged on Tuesday or Wednesday, last night would have not taken place.
Well, look, it shouldn't have to take folks burning buildings to be taken seriously about the need that a community has, that the family of Mr. Floyd has to have justice and to receive justice swiftly. Justice delayed is justice denied. And you know, I'm sick of it. I just have to tell you. I mean, this is on the heels of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, and then we can go down the long list. And people deserve justice. We have still, though, in America, two systems of justice. There's the one system of justice for people like Michael Flynn and Trump's supporters who have been found guilty or pled guilty, and then they're let. And there's another system of justice that is applied to black people, brown people in America, and folks sick.
You're absolutely right. Folk are sick and tired of it. And one of the things that I said to people is that when you look at this rebellion, people are angry. It was not just black people who were out there last night. It was white people. It was Latinos. People are sick and tired of police, frankly, getting away with these things. Today, the DA said, well, hey, we move real fast in this one. Normally, it takes 9 months to a year. I'm sitting there watching it going, wait a minute. You're telling me it takes 9 months to a year to actually charge a police officer? You've been a district attorney. You've been attorney general. That, to me, is part of the problem. You've got a video where a cop has his knee and full weight on a man's neck for 10 minutes, and we see it on the video. But the DA says normally it would take 9 months to a year. That's why people are angry.
But people are hurting also, Roland, and you and I both. People are in pain. because this is not unique to this moment. This has been going on for decades and generations in America, which is that the enforcement of American law is applied differently depending on the color of the skin of the person to whom it is being. And that's just general fact, and we know that to be true. We still in America have as an ideal that gets achieved justice for all, equally.
I got to get your thoughts about the fact that in a moment like this, leaders lead. Vice President Joe Biden made his particular comment today. Former President Barack Obama also released a statement. I'm going to read that statement a little bit later. Donald Trump comes out to the Rose Garden, nothing. No comment, no statement.
But Roland, you know what? No. He made a really loud statement.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm about to say. He did not speak to it, but he spoke to it.
No, listen, I suggest that you rewind it, start from the moment they start walking out of the White House onto the podium, the Rose Garden, and put it on mute. It is such a loud statement. Just walk. Look at it. They made a very loud, and Donald Trump, very loud. He dog whistled to the people that he believes are his loyal supporters to let them know he's still with them. And just watch it. Watch it that way. Mute it. And it will be very loud to hear him saying.
Well, you make an excellent point there because, again, what we are seeing and dealing with is an abdication. All right, folks, I want to bring up now a couple of folks, Melanie Campbell with the Black Women's Round Table and National Coalition on Black Civic Participation also. And so I want to bring her up. Melody, glad to have you back on the show. Are you there?
Yes. How are you, Roland?
Okay, all good. Just wanted to be able to hear you, make sure everything is there. Also, let's, again, first of all, I'm trying to, we got a couple of issues here, so sorry, folks. Trying to pull up our next guest. Let's bring up Glenda Carr. She's with Higher Heights. Yeah. Higher Heights, of course, their goal is to get more Black women elected to office. Are you there, Glenda?
I sure am. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you just fine. All right, Glenda, I'll start with you. That video that we showed from Atlanta, that was a Higher Heights event that took place there. Your organization has long been champions of Senator Kamala Harris. How does it make you feel as a Black woman on this day to see a Black woman on the first major presidential ticket? Here we are in 2020. And, of course, the reason I'm wearing this shirt, Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, when she ran for president in 1972, has been a very, very long time.
Roland, I saw your shirt and I ran and got my shirt. And so you're exactly right. I mean, we're 48 years since Shirley Chisholm, went to the 1972 Democratic Convention and had her name entered into nomination from the floor, making her the first African American and first woman to have her name entered into nomination for any major party. So that being said, today it is the roadmap and the legacy of Shirley Chisholm and her unbought and unbossed leadership from 1972 and beyond. And so there's two things that I think that we need to celebrate as Americans today, is that, yes, Senator Kamala Harris has made history being named as the vice president running mate. But at the end of the day, and Roland, we spent a lot of time talking over the last couple of months, there was a list of Black women and they rose to the top of the list as potential nominees. And so we celebrate the gains that Black women have made. At the end of the day, we have put more into this democracy than we have gotten back. And today is just beginning to be the inch forward. Black women are leading in 2020. Both we will lead at the polls and we will lead on the ballot. So Kamala Harris's name just gets added to the record number of Black women who are running for Congress in 2020. And frankly, last week we now know that we have a record number of Black women nominees, both on the Republican side and the Democratic side, that are marching forward to the November election. And so it's great to see that from the local level to the highest ticket, Black women are leading boldly in this moment, and I think will create the energy for Black women to organize themselves to the polls, but also organize their house, their block, their church, their sorority, and their union.
Melanie, African Americans, of course, here we are just last week, 55 years after the Voting Rights Act. And it was extremely difficult for African Americans to be elected to statewide office. And the reality is that Senator Barack Obama was a United States Senator who was Senate to become president. Senator Kamala Harris, before that, was California State Attorney General, statewide office, then, of course, becomes United States Senate. This is what Black folks have been talking about, fighting for, working diligently for, to put African Americans in position for positions such as this, as opposed to simply being left out and ignored. We had Black mayors, but then as you begin to go up for statewide office, it just got tougher and tougher, and this is the fruits of that labor.
Most definitely. I was telling someone, I said, her getting the VP slot to be on this ticket, it changes the dynamic. It makes it the norm. I keep saying one of the things about this was it was not about being the exception to the rule, but the norm. So that you're talking about more governors, you're talking about more secretaries of state, you're talking about the ability to have more Black folks in the U.S. Senate, and of course the House. As we've already seen that happening. We've seen that happening on a local level. Now we rise to the top of this ticket for the Democratic Party. I think it changes the dynamic, let alone just in this moment, just take a moment to just celebrate this her story, this American history moment. I just feel my mother looking down, and my grandmothers and all of my aunties and everybody else who tilled the soil for this moment. And then we know we're going to enjoy this moment, so tomorrow we can get to work.
And again, that whole point about getting to work, Linda, is critically important because, again, it's great to celebrate an historic appointment, but it doesn't actually mean anything if they lose in November to Donald Trump and Mike Pence.
Absolutely. The work now is to ensure that the Vice President Biden or Biden-Harris ticket invests in Black women and Black voters, and that is being in regular dialogue to center our issues and the policies that they will continue to put forth, and to provide the necessary infrastructure, recognizing, Roland, voters are going to be voting during COVID-19. So helping Black women create that safe vote plan, and that safe vote plan is figuring out, are you voting by mail? But frankly, how do we vote early to ensure that our votes are in and that you're voting with less crowds? And then finally, that we are protecting and fighting for every vote to count. And that is the work of not only the campaign, but also groups like Higher Heights and the Black Women's Roundtable to ensure that Black women are prepared to vote. I think we are fired up, both from a policy perspective. We recognize that we need a change in the direction of this country. A poll that we recently did with Cornell Boucher and the Brilliant Corners showed, when voters talking about the vice president pick, that they're looking for a new generation of leaders. They're looking someone that can unify and to make history. And I think Kamala Harris checks all of those boxes. And now it's about getting to work to mobilize our community, but frankly, rooting that in the fact that Black women want economically thriving, educated, healthy, and safe communities. And any candidate, including Vice President Biden and Senator Harris, have to put forth plans and a conversation around how do we actually make that happen for Black women.
And that's the key there. The reality is this here. And frankly, whether it's Biden and Harris, Melanie, African Americans, what we cannot do is do what we did when President Obama was there. And that is be happy to see a Black first family. We must be advancing our agenda. Period.
And that's correct. And we talked about electing a white man, 77-year-old white man with this black woman. I think the key, what Glenda already said, what you've already said, we've got work to do. I'm also going to put my other hat I'm wearing today. I'm not wearing my Black Women's Roundtable hat while I'm talking. I'm Sisters Lead, Sisters Vote, just to make sure that we're clear who I'm representing on this call tonight. But it's get to work time, and it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be an easy road to make this happen. But but across the board, like any other campaign, the diversity has to be there. I was glad to see Karine Jean-Pierre has been named the chief of staff for his campaign moving forward. I think that's a powerful decision that they made. But across the board, with the Democratic Party, making sure that the diversity is there. I want to thank Glenda early on. You know, we pushed that letter out a couple of 2 or 3 years ago, Roland. I think we were on the call. So we've come a long way. It didn't just start with this opportunity for there to be a woman, and now we have the first black woman who's going to be on a top of a ticket of a presidential campaign. But the work is about the issues. It's about our people. It's about making sure that our community will not just survive where we're going, but we can thrive. We can shift the power all across the board. It's not the panacea, but it sure feels good. It feels good tonight.
All right, then. Glenda, as well as Melody, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, I want to share with you right now some of what Senator Kamala Harris had to say at that Higher Heights event that took place in Atlanta the day after the Democratic debate in 2019. Here's some of it. All right, folks, do we have it? All right, I need somebody to talk to me. Let me know, do we have the video or not? All right, let me know when the video is ready. Right now, I want to bring up I don't know what's going on with the video there. I'm going to bring up a couple of our panelists right now. We have, of course, Eugene Craig Organization, Kelly Bethea, communication strategist, also Brittany Lewis, political analyst and historian. So, folks, let me know when that video is ready. I'll bring them up. Also, coming up shortly, we're going to have Reverend Dr. William J. Barber, who'll be joining us as well. Eugene, I want to start with you. Republicans are already attacking Senator Kamala Harris, but this is the one candidate. This is the one candidate. A lot of the other folks. No, folks, leave Brittany where she is. No, leave Brittany where she is. Eugene, I want to sit here and go to you. A lot of those Russian bots were going after Senator Kamala Harris. Republicans don't want her.
Well, a couple things. This Republican absolutely does want her. And our team over at the Lincoln Project actually dropped an amazing ad after she was announced VP candidate for Joe Biden, just highlighting the leadership that she and Joe would bring to the country. But look, Republicans, they're dumb, but they also aren't dumb. They know what the demographics look like. They know what the numbers look like, and they know what this election is going to look like. And they also know what kind of dog walking is going to take place across this country when Kamala Harris gets to debate Vice President Pence. This is probably the nightmare situation for Team Trump, because now, look, black women are going to be energized to get out there and turn out and turn up, donate and vote. Good black men are going to be energized. And I think the numbers that Team Trump was looking at when it comes to black men are probably going to be cut in half with, which wasn't much in the first place, right? We're looking at 10, 12%, but that probably goes down to 6, 7% with Kamala on the ticket with Joe Biden. But Republicans, they are terrified. They're having flashbacks to 2008.
Kelly, again, what we're dealing with here is Republicans, look, they want to hold on to power. Don't be surprised if they attack her criminal justice record, and look for them to attack the record of Joe Biden as well. Donald Trump wants to champion himself as being Mr. Criminal Justice Reform, but we know what his record actually looks like.
No, absolutely. The fact of the matter is, whether you wanted her or not, this is it. We got her ticket, and we need to move on. You know, I've been on your show several times regarding who I thought would have been a better VP pick. Frankly, every single Black woman on that list would have been more than qualified for this position. He picked Kamala Harris. That's fine. Either way, there's a historic decision that has been made, but we need to get over this hump of the shock and the arguing that is already taking place, I'm sure. Give it 24 hours, but after that, we need boots on the ground, making sure that this vote counts, because it's not a game. 2016 was our wake-up call. 2020 needs to be the time we actually take action, and real direct action. So we know that Russian bots are out there. We know that Trump's going to undermine this campaign. We know that the Republicans are going to undermine Kamala Harris. We know all the types of tricks and insidiousness that's going to take place just by way of her being a Black woman. We are prepared for all of that now because we've seen all of it. Now we need to get past that and be on the offensive because we know what's coming. We just need to combat it head on and make sure that they get the White House seat, period.
Brittany, young voters obviously are going to be critical. There are some out there who are suggesting that Senator Kamala Harris cannot energize those young voters. Well, I'm trying to understand who the hell do they think. I mean, you look at the candidates, what they say Susan Rice would have, Val Demings would have, Karen Bass would have, Elizabeth Warren would have. And so you constantly hear that. I think, again, we got to get out of the personality politics and say what can energize young voters should be issues. That's what the focus should be.
Absolutely. You brought up an excellent point. I'm not sure who would actually be better than Kamala in terms of invigorating the younger vote. And I think that they are going to turn out. I think Donald Trump is shaking in his boots. I think Kamala has not only all of my sorors behind her, but she also has the acumen and the resume to do an excellent job and take us back to center and away from this runaway train, if you will. So I do think young voters are going to turn out. I think we're going to see something similar to what we saw when then Senator Obama was running. I do think young voters are going to turn out. I think, unfortunately, with Joe Biden, I guess the push, if you will, has been more so to get Trump out of office as opposed to being excited about Biden. But I think people are going to be excited about Kamala. I think they are excited about the first Black woman, at the top of the ticket for a presidential campaign, and potentially going to be, a president down the line. So I think that young voters will absolutely get behind her, and I'm excited to see how everything plays out.
And look, I think on this issue here, and you see people who are going back and forth. You got all of these white progressives out here already criticizing, oh, she's the establishment. Look, this is real simple, okay? Your guy didn't win. Sanders didn't win. This is where white progressives and Democrats must do like Republicans. Get your ass in line. This is real simple. November comes down to two people, Biden or Trump, Harris or Pence. Take your damn pick. I don't understand. Eugene, I don't get it. All the bitching and moaning from all of these white progressives. Oh, she's the establishment. Guess what? If you wanted your person to win, you should have got your asses out and voted. He didn't. This is what happens in elections. But the greater issue is this here. You want to win in November because guess what? That guy won't even think about your policies.
Exactly. And that's what they have to understand. Look, Bernie Sanders had a shot. He's been running for president essentially for 6 years now. If they wanted Democratic nominee Bernie Sanders, they should have got and turned out black voters in South Carolina. They should engage more than their own white base. All right, that's point blank. Period. That's what it comes down to. Furthermore, Sarah Harris was outside of Joe Biden the most qualified person to be president on that Democrat stage. She was a district attorney, an attorney general, and a United States senator that served on the Judiciary Committee that held this Trump administration accountable in a lot of ways. A lot of those other people on that stage did not. The only person that was more qualified than her was Vice President Biden, and that was only because literally he was vice president. And so the situation is that, you literally have the two most qualified people that ran for office this cycle as a team to go and take down Team Trump. And the thing is this, at the end of the day, you can vote for Biden-Harris or you can bitch and moan for the next 4 years about Team Trump. Myself as a Republican that, look, I'm on record. I didn't support Trump in 2015, 2016. Don't support him now and actively working against him to make sure he loses. But listen, I will be voting for Biden-Harris. And the thing is this, I don't see why any person that calls himself a progressive can let their progressive values be left on the sidelines and let Team Trump run them into the ground because they don't like one or two things about Senator Harris.
I want to bring up right now Reverend Dr. William J. Barber with the Poor People's Campaign, Repairs of the Breach. And Reverend Barber, when you were last on, we talked about this. Stop focusing on individuals and personalities. Focus on issues.
Always. And, one of the things I'm encouraged by Biden's choice of Senator Harris is historic for the running mate. And I joined others the other day and said that Biden ought to choose a black woman as his running mate. But that was about policy. It was because we need leadership that is ready to fight for issues that matter to all of us. And it was a good political strategy to have a ticket that looks like the country you want to build. But in addition to the face of the ticket, we have to have a broad coalition. It requires the focus of the ticket. So now what Biden and Harris have to do is to show us that they're going to focus on systemic racism in all of its forms, poverty that's facing 140 million Americans, ecological devastation, health care for all that's traumatizing 114 million Americans that are either uninsured or uninsured. We're going to deal with this deadly COVID. We're going to challenge this war economy. We're putting, 5 times more in war almost than we are in dealing with issues of poverty and infrastructure and education. And if the face and the focus, the identities and the issues come together on the ticket, then that's the possibility of a transformative election. But guess what, Roland? We can't just sit back and say, are they going to do it? We have to push. Just like we pushed for a person to be on ticket, you have to push for the policies. I just sent a note out to the Democratic Party. We don't endorse. I said, how can you have Kasich on the opening night, Kasich on, who was horrible for us in voter suppression and in welfare reform, and not make sure that the issues of poor and low-wealth people are center stage. We have to stay on it. This is a battle. This is a fight, and I hear people saying what they're not going to do and what they're going to do. Listen, in this political arena, we don't elect Jesus, we elect individuals. Now, if it was Jesus, you don't have to stay on Jesus because Jesus is going to do right anyway. But if anybody less than Jesus, Roland, you got to stay on the issues. You got to stay with it. You got to keep pushing. You got to push. I never will forget what Obama said when somebody asked him, would Dr. King have been supporting him when he ran? He said, no, he would be pushing me. He would be pushing me on the issue. It's the same thing that's got to happen now with this ticket. We just announced today, Roland, we had a big news conference, 30-some news outlets called Unleashing the Power of the Poor. In 16 states, if poor people turn out around an agenda, not a personality, around an agenda, it only takes 1 to 19% in 16 states for poor people who didn't vote last time to alter the election and to choose who sits in the United States Senate and who sits in the presidency. That's where our work has to be now as we're going forward.
Well, and the thing is, again, for the people out there who say, oh, we didn't get the progressive VP candidate we want, this is very simple. I got a choice. If these are my issues, who am I more likely to get most of my agenda from? Will it be Biden-Harris or Trump Pence. That's how you make political calculations. Because otherwise, if you, like I got one person on YouTube like, I'm not voting for either one of them. Well, what you basically have just said is, I don't care. That's the problem. When you're making a calculation, it's like, okay, out of the two, who do I think I could possibly persuade? Who do I think I could actually meet with? Who do I think if I can't get 100%, I can get 80 or 70? Where I come from, 70, 80% is better than zero.
All day long, Doc. And not only that, it is, I went down and looked at Senator Harris's record, ACLU, 100% voting record, NAACP, 100% voting record. I looked at the things she signed on with Senator Warren, and how they were joined together. So, first of all, you need to do your study. Now, anybody that says they're not going to deal with anybody that they don't like for one or two things, that means you don't even deal with yourself, because nobody is totally comfortable with their own self. But listen, A. Philip Randolph, in the middle of the Great Depression, made FDR a great president. Made him a great president. When King and John Lewis made Lyndon Baines, he was a segregationist. And it wasn't even an election year, but they did the kinds of things that made them move. Let's be very clear. We're going to push in this election. We're going to turn people out in this particular election. We know the racists and the thieves that we have in the office now. We know what we have in McConnell and Trump. We're going to push this ticket, going to push them to articulate the right things. We're going to push them if they win afterwards. We're going to stay at them. Listen, we had a plan to march this year, Roland. Poor people came back. We didn't have it for COVID, but we had it online. 3 million people showed up. Don't think that we're not going to do the same thing if there's a new if Biden and Harris wins on behalf of the issues. We're going to demand in the first 100 days you address the issues that are hurting millions and millions of black people and poor white people and so forth. But the last thing you can do is have like we had in 2016. We complain about Trump. 79,000 votes got him over in 3 states. 100 million Americans stayed home. 34 million poor and low-wealth people. And what poor and low-wealth people around the country are saying to me now is we're organizing. Wait a minute. We don't have to say we're not going to vote and we're just going to stay home because nobody's talking about our issues. We can vote, organize, and make them talk about our issues. So it's a different concept. I'm not going to stay home and wait until you talk about my issues. I'm going to get engaged. I'm going to get in the streets. I'm going to get vocal. I'm going to get on internet, YouTube, wherever. I'm going to go to the polls, and I'm going to build power, change the narrative. And when you do that, you force yourself into the narrative rather than sit back and say, I'm not going to do anything until somebody welcomes me in the narrative. Did I lose him?
You there? No, I said as Reverend, y'all released the Power of the Poor vote study today. We were together in Mississippi and North Carolina. You have been saying for years, poor people could literally change the electoral process if they use their power to do so and actually vote.
That's right. And it doesn't even take 100%, Roland. It doesn't take 80%. I mean, we now have a document, an empirical data document that actually says, stop talking to politicians, stop saying poor people don't vote. There's 2 reasons this study showed. Number one, a lot of them don't vote because of voter suppression, transportation, illness, and because, we don't have the kind of system that's really open. We ought to have election day as a holiday, so forth and so on. But be that as it may, the other reason is they have not heard their issues. So number one, to the party and to the parties and to people who are running, talk about the issues that impact poor people. And not only poor people before COVID, but now we're going to have over 50% of Americans living in poverty, 114 million people without health care, 30 million people unemployed. Those issues have to be front and center, not on the margin. We don't need moderation now. We need those issues at front and center. But there's another thing. Poor people are saying, wait a minute. You mean to tell me if black poor, white poor people, low-income people, and white poor, low-income people, and brown can get together and just concentrate about 20% more of those who did not turn out, we can shift an election. Oh, if that's the case, not only are we going to wait, as I said, for others to talk about issues, we're going to push into it and change elections. We had, Doc, I don't know if you heard, but in Tennessee, there's an African-American woman that just won the Democratic primary. Nobody thought she would. She was raised up in the Poor People's Campaign. We never endorsed her, but she won on issues. People came to her over issues. The Kentucky governor that's there now, we didn't endorse him, but we pushed issues so hard. He talked about the issues we're concerned about, and black poor people from Louisville and white poor people from the mountains got together, and he's governor of the state of California, of Kentucky now. And that can happen all over the South. We've got people, it can happen all, and so that's why, Roland, what we're going to do is focus on these Senate seats, because this report shows us the Senate is in play and poor and low wealth people are in play. And if you win the Senate, you'll also win at the top of the ticket. So if you can turn Senate races, you can also turn these presidential races in states that often have been seen not able to be progressive. They're not progressive, not because they're not able to be progressive, because they haven't been organized and we have not worked to push poor and low wealth people out. So poor and low wealth people are saying we're going to take matters in our own hands and we're going to build this coalition and turn out.
Reverend Dr. William J. Barber, we certainly appreciate it, sir. Thank you so very much.
Take care. God bless.
All right. I want to go back to my panel here. Brittany, I want to go to you. Again, it really bugs the hell out of me, Brittany, when I see these people who just I got somebody on YouTube like, well, these boomers, I see this Angry Jenkins. Boomers love this ticket, but younger generation got to deal with the shit that comes from it their whole lives. How about this here? If younger voters vote, if younger voters stop waiting to get tickled and have this, oh my God, I'm falling in love with somebody, you do exactly what older voters do. You participate in the process. That's how you change things. I'm just sick of these people who just whine and complain and, oh my God, these boomers and Gen X. Because guess what? Older people vote. My parents are 73. They work election after election. They're at the polls. They risk COVID going out to work the polls in the Texas runoff. That's what you do. You stop bitching and moaning, and you participate in a democracy.
Oh, Roland, I couldn't agree more. And I think here, let me say this to the followers who are frustrated by the ticket collectively. I was not a Biden supporter, nor, even though this was a Black woman and an AKA a supporter of Kamala. However, the reality is I am going to vote. I'm going to vote for multiple reasons. The first reason is our ancestors fought and died for that right. Too many people have lost their lives for the ability to do that. But more importantly, we are on a runaway train with Donald Trump and these white nationalists that are in office. And it's imperative, even if Kamala and Biden are going to bring us, quote unquote, back to center because they are a moderate ticket. The reality is, and I think Reverend Dr. Barber put it best, at the end of the day, that doesn't mean that we're going to stop fighting. That doesn't mean that we're going to stop for pushing for a more radical and a more equitable change beyond the status quo. But the reality is the fight looks very different if we have another 4 years of Trump versus us having another 4 years of Biden and Kamala. So for that reason alone, the young voters not only need to get out and vote, but we can still be invigorated. We can still push for extreme and radical change. But at the end of the day, let's push for that extreme and radical change with a Biden, Harris ticket.
And see, this is the silliness that just gets on my nerves. Just gets on my nerves, Kelly, when I look at some of these people make idiotic comments. Oh, nothing is going to change if you vote. Well, we can show you that things can go real bad or can actually be better. Then you have people who say, oh, well, if even you get out there, they don't care about us. As Reverend Barber just said, if you don't make your presence known, then they're not going to listen to you. We can show you examples of that. Then, of course, they're still saying, well, again, these older voters, why can't they change their views? Let me just help out a young voter who needs to understand this, Kelly. If your ass don't own a house, you're not thinking about property taxes. You're not thinking about home ownership. You're not thinking about any of those things, okay? If you're out there borrowing your parents' Netflix password, you aren't thinking about the stuff that older voters actually think about. When I was 21, 22, 23, because I had parents who were engaged, yes, I was thinking about who was going to be on the city council, on the county commissioner's court, who was going to be the state rep and the state senator and the governor, and who was going to be member of Congress and the U.S. Senate, who was going to be president. I dare say, if anybody out there 35 and under, show me your top 5 issues, and I will show you that whoever is president has a role to play in exactly the issue you care about. Those are facts, Kelly. And so when people say, oh, I can just ignore the top of the ticket and focus on everything else, well, actually, you can't. Because I guarantee you, who sits in the White House has an impact on what you care about.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head, especially when it comes to voting and people coming up with the belief that if you just vote whatever's at the bottom, that'll solve change. I believe that the only trickle-down effect that is actually effective in this country is when you vote for president. Because the executive branch is the branch that trickles down into local politics. It trickles down into everything that we are affected by, that we individual citizens touch. No, I definitely agree with you on that. But you talking about the 35 and under club, which I am a part of, complaining and stuff. We're not the only ones complaining, because I have plenty of friends who are older than me by at least 10 years. And frankly, they're the ones who are complaining about this ticket, who have been complaining about Biden and Harris ever since they came on the scene, saying that they were going to run for president against each other at the time. And they are the ones, frankly, who are going to be voting or not voting based off of the bitching and moaning that you so described previously. So I encourage everybody to, frankly, get over it. The ticket is here. We need to vote for this ticket if we want Trump out. You want a multi-party system? Guess what you got to do? You got to vote in this system now so that we can change the system later. Because it's not going to work from the outside in. Not right now, because everything's so fractured.
Eugene, I'm reading this comment here. This Michael Coates. Roland's out of touch with reality. He is not in tune to what's happening in the streets. Oh, actually, I am. And what I'm also in tune with, I'm in tune with student loan debt. I'm in tune with health care. I'm in tune with the fact that the black home ownership rate is at its lowest level since the Fair Housing Act was passed in 1968. I'm in tune with the fact that you have 2.6 million black-owned businesses in America, but 2.5 million of them only have one employee. I'm in tune with the fact that those black-owned businesses prior to COVID were only doing an average revenue of $54,000. I'm in tune with the fact that because of COVID, we potentially could lose up to half of all black-owned businesses in America because they're not going to survive through COVID. Oh, I'm very in tune to what's happening when it comes to education in our communities. I'm in tune to the lack of mental health services. I'm in tune with what's going on to progressive DAs and then these hardcore conservative DAs who are all about throwing folks in jail for the rest of their lives. I'm in tune with the fact that what we're dealing with is a clear and undeniable racist in the White House who does not care about us and who will say and do anything in order to maintain power. What I am aware of, Michael Coates, since you think you know what's happening in the streets, that Donald Trump has appointed 203 federal judges since he has been there. That represents 25% of all federal judges in America, Eugene. That means that if Donald Trump gets reelected, he will, at the end of 4 years, will have appointed half of all federal judges in the United States. And those federal judges do not like civil rights, do not like the environment. They are pro-business, and they also are pro-law enforcement. So, Michael Coates, you tell me, who the hell kind of judges do you think are likely going to be picked by Biden-Harris compared to Trump-Pence? By the way, Michael, the judges Trump is picking, those judges are between the ages of 35 and 45 because they want them to be there for the next 50 years. That means, Michael, when your children file a lawsuit, they're likely going to be going before a judge that Trump picked. Now, you tell me, who the hell doesn't know what's happening in the streets? Eugene, go ahead.
What else is there for me to say after you done ran down all of it, Roland? I mean, you got to leave me something there. But I will say this to your previous point of the under 35 crowd complaining. Let's talk about some things real quick. You want to go to Tulum? You want to go to Cancun? You want to go to Cabo? Guess what? Your president of the United States might affect that, and the leadership that's there when something like coronavirus hits might affect that. You want student loan forgiveness? Hey, your president might affect that. You don't want your friends to be tear gas, shot with rubber bullets, or beat up by batons by militarized federal police forces that shouldn't be on our streets in the first place while they're protesting about their survival as black people in America. Hey, who's in the White House may just affect that. Who's in the U.S. Senate may just affect that. Who's your governor may just affect that. And I mean, and you can go down the list. I mean, you ran down most of the list. I don't have to rehash it. But the thing is this: at the end of the day, numbers don't lie. The biggest voting population in this country are the under 35 millennials and Gen Z. You know, we outnumber the boomers. It's fact. It's fact. But the issue is that the boomers turn out and vote. So if you want to change how this country is run or policies that this country pursues, do two things: either run for office like AOC did and flip shit, or get out and vote and elect people that will flip shit.
Well, let this here. So there's this one person who complains, well, why are you upset that progressives, this Bruce Leroy just sound like an idiot. He goes, how can you bitch about Biden picking a black woman VP and then trash progressives because we want a progressive VP? Well, you didn't get one. So now what are you going to do? See, let's just go ahead and cut through all this. What you going to do now? See, this is real clear.
Trump's not an
You
option.
wanted a progressive VP. Now here's the deal. You want a progressive VP. Now, there are some who call Kamala Harris a progressive VP. But let's just be clear. Let's be real clear. Biden, Harris, Trump, Pence. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wait. So since Bruce Leroy, I got time for you today. I already dispatched with Michael Coates. Let me deal with you, Bruce. Bruce, since you say you're progressive, I want you to type in the chat your top 5 issues. I'll wait. I want you to type in your top 5 issues. Since you're so progressive, type them in. I'll wait. Because, see, this is the point, Brittany. When I hear progressives say, oh, I want a progressive, again, you have over here. So I would assume, Brittany, that progressives care about the environment. Just yesterday, the Trump administration overturning Obama-era regulations when it comes to dealing with the environment. So if you're progressive, let's see. Do you think that Biden-Harris are going to be more sensitive about the environment than Trump-Pence? I'm just curious.
I really don't understand this. And I think the terms are laid out pretty clear. And you guys have given a ton of examples in terms of what we're up against if we are not going to go out and vote, and if we are not going to ensure that Donald Trump is removed from the White House. Because at the end of the day, and don't get me wrong, I'm an idealist at the end of the day. But at the same time, I recognize that who is in office has material consequences in terms of how money is allocated, whether we're allocating 60% of the national budget to military spending, or if that's going to education or social welfare programs, right? So I think it's very important that not only are we voting and are we getting behind it, I'm part of that camp that was for Sanders. Like, to be clear to the people who are saying that they're progressive, right? I was a part of the Sanders camp, but at the end of the day, I am going to vote for that Biden and Harris ticket at the end of the day, because it's a different battle if they're not in office. I'm not saying that we don't need to still push. We absolutely need to push. We know this. But again, it's a different type of battle, like you brought up, in terms of climate change, in terms of COVID-19, in terms of what's happening with Black businesses. It's a different battle depending on who is in office. And for that reason alone, we need to get out and vote.
And here's the deal, Kelly. Again, I am more than willing. Yank Uger and the Young Turks, he sent a tweet out. I had to sit here and smack Yank. I did. I had to hit him, because he was like, oh, the establishment, they wanted Kamala Harris, and they got Kamala Harris. And I said, Yank, let me remind you, Black people have been more loyal to the Democratic Party than white progressives have been. Let's just be real clear. But what we're dealing with here, and I need people to understand, I'm not in love with Joe Biden. I'm not in love with Senator Kamala Harris, but I know who I hate. I hate evil. I hate lying, despicable, degrading Donald Trump and that Stepford husband of his, Mike Pence. That's what I know, Kelly. And what I know is those two, coupled with Mitch McConnell controlling the Senate, they will screw Americans over for 4 more years. And there is no way I can be silent and let my nieces become of age in Trump-Pence America. No, not today.
And that's the power of the vote. The fact that we now know who's running and who's on the ticket, that gives us the power to choose, right? But specifically, what's the quote? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's kind of how, if you really don't like Biden like that, and you really, really don't like Harris like that, you need to abide by that quote, because they are the enemy of Trump. And if you don't like Trump, you need to get on board with the Biden-Harris ticket, period. Because those are your only two options, your only two viable options as to who's going to be president of the United States and vice president, respectively, period. So we could go round and round about, well, Biden does this and Kamala said that, and like, I don't like this because of what she did in California, and what about the Black vote, this, that. It doesn't matter anymore. We have a ticket. It's Biden-Harris. We need to push this ticket into the White House, lest we have another 4 years of Trump-Pence. Like, it's a real simple equation.
Kelly, let me be real clear. Okay? Obama was not happy when I critiqued him. Let me be real clear.
No one's happy with the critique.
Biden-Harris wins. You can bet I am going to push them on the issues as far as I can. If the Democrats get control of the Senate, I'm going to push Senator Chuck Schumer as far as I can. But what I'm not going to do is act a fool and go, I didn't get what I want. So because I didn't get what I want, I'm just going to stay at home. No, that's what spoiled brats do.
And Roland, the other thing is this, right? We can't forget the fact that what delivered Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania for Donald Trump in 2016 wasn't angry Black voters. It was disgruntled Sanders Trump voters. So it wasn't even, hey, I'm not getting what I want, so I'm going to take my ball and go home and not vote. It was, hey, I didn't get what I want, so I'm going to go for the other white guy.
Oh, yeah. Look, man, look, Brittany, I just read the New York Times story this weekend of these white evangelicals in Iowa who were saying, yeah, we don't like the cheating. Yeah, we don't like the porn star stuff, but he's defending us and he's defending our Christian values. And no, they were literally saying he's defending whiteness. Yeah. They if you read the article, Brittany, they actually said, one of them said, he is defending Caucasians. What we are dealing with Donald Trump is they want to protect whiteness. White fear is driving them. Last night, Tucker Carlson literally said on his show that if we don't sit here and if we don't slow down the demographic shift in this country, we are going to lose these cities. What's the translation? If these black and Latino people take over, it's over for us white folks. That's why they are supporting Donald Trump, Brittany. And that's why I will oppose Trump and Pence at every turn with every fiber in my body.
Absolutely. We know Trump is a white nationalist. I mean, we've known this from his earliest days in Atlantic City. We've known this by the properties he's owned, where he basically explicitly said, I'm not allowing brown and black people to live in my building. I don't want poor people here. We know that, you know, his actions in response to those that were in Charlottesville, which were neo-Nazis and white supremacists. We know even the people that have been appointed, right, who very clearly had white nationalist stances that are working literally in the White House right alongside him. So again, and I'm really saying this to the folks who are critiquing Biden and Harris, I'm with you. We understand that there's not going to be radical change coming through them, and we will push them once they're in office. But we have to get them in office first. And at the end of the day, there's nothing worse on this planet than a Trump-Pence for another 4 years.
Let me read this idiotic post, Kelly, from this Salim Hill. Roland, you can't do nothing to Biden and Harris once they win, but yelling from the internet, and that did nothing to Obama team. Okay, so let me just, Kelly, the reason that's idiotic is because you can push folk when they win. You can all of a sudden drop 1,000 people standing in front of the White House. You can say, yeah, we're going to push you on this, and all of a sudden 5, 10, 20, 30, 50,000 phone calls and emails flooding the White House. Actually, you can. The difference, Kelly, is will a guy like Salim Hill really do it? See, that's the real deal. See, when people say you can't do anything after they win, those are the people who are too lazy to use their voice after the election. I keep saying, Kelly, the end of the election, the end of the election is the end of one process, and it's the beginning of another.
I don't understand that statement of you can't do anything once they win, because once they win, that's when you have to do something. That's when they have the power to do something in your favor. They can't do anything for you as a nominee. They can't do anything for you in the capacity pre-presidency. They have to win in order for something to benefit you. So that statement just doesn't make just logical sense to me in any regard. But to say that you can't do anything once you win outside of the rationale that I just stated, that's what protests are for. That's why we're out in the street now. Like you said, you got the phone calls, you've got the emails, you've got the protesting and the assembling and all of these things. Like LBJ, like we stated previously, he was an out there racist. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he still listened to King and got those acts passed. So you can't say that absolutely nothing can happen once you're in office. He was able to do something in spite of his personal ideology because of the persuasion of the other side and the backing of the other side. It wasn't just one person. It was a whole movement that came to the table in order for those acts to pass. So don't act like our voices mean nothing. One voice alone may not be able to do it, but when we come in the Legion, that's when change happens. So that's why we're out in the streets now. That's why we need to vote in November.
Look, let's look at North Carolina. Eugene, we had Reverend Barber on.
Yeah.
After Obama won North Carolina by 14,100 votes in 2008, Republicans moved to do voter suppression. Moral Mondays, every single Monday, they started with 16 people who got arrested, and they had protests, and it was mostly black people. Then all of a sudden, they started fighting for those rural hospitals, saying we got to have Medicaid expansion. Republicans began to fight against it. Then all of a sudden, white folks, North Carolina, who were teachers and firefighters, started saying, damn, hold up, y'all fighting for us. And so all of a sudden, that thing began to grow into coalition politics. And then they kept going. Then they sued. Then they kept fighting. Then they started winning. They won in the state. Then all of a sudden, guess what happened? Elections. Now Democrats have a majority on the state Supreme Court. Now they fought the political gerrymandering and the racial gerrymandering and beat them. All because people didn't just do like this guy. Well, there's nothing we can do after they win, so we just got to just sit here and just take it. No, they fought. The same thing John Lewis did, same thing Septima Clark did, same thing Diane Nash did, same thing Fannie Lou Hamer did, same thing that Dr. King did, and Hosea Williams, and Andrew Young, and Fred Shuttlesworth, and James Bevel, and we can go on. The same thing Tamika Mallory is doing, the same thing Linda Sarsour is doing, the same thing Black Lives Matter Chicago is doing right now. We got people who are putting it on the line, but we got too many other folks who are yakking their mouths on social media, not willing to fight for change. If you sit your behind at home, shut the hell up, Eugene.
I agree 100% with you. And look, the moral Mondays in North Carolina, help usher in a Democrat majority in the Supreme Court. It helped usher in.
Hold up. I'm sorry, and I just remembered. Hold up. I just remembered. Missouri just became the 39th state, a red state, to pass Medicaid expansion.
Medicare for all.
Oklahoma, red state. So for all y'all folk who say pushing and campaigning and mobilizing, organizing don't work, so how all these red states all of a sudden passing Medicaid expansion? Eugene, go ahead.
And so look. You're seeing a shift in North Carolina. And it's been happening over the last decade. But you're seeing a materialization of it, right? And the thing is this, Republicans are freaking out so bad that when the federal court required them to actually draw a fair map and correct some of those congressional districts, they popped probably the most friendliest white Republican conservative to black folk as a response to it when they popped Walker's district, Mark Walker's district. And so the thing is this, as I tell some of the folk around me, I say, listen, you go from W to W, strength to strength. And what's been happening in North Carolina, starting with Moral Mondays and now translating into actual electoral gains and what very well may be a very fair map drawn for redistricting in the next year. You go from W to W, and you're seeing those W's because of the work that Reverend Barber is doing with Preparers of the Breach and with Moral Mondays. And you're seeing those W's, and you're seeing not just seeing North Carolina, but you're seeing it across the country. Because the thing is this, lifting the plight of poor people is not a red issue, is not a blue issue, is an American issue. It's an economic issue. And the thing is this, when you see that your people are dying because, hey, there's no hospital when they overdose, so there's nobody to give them their Narcan when they overdose, or you see them dying because, they can't get the treatments that they need for XYZ illness, that's enough to move folk. That's enough to say, hey, listen, this whole pick yourself up by your bootstraps is cool, but hey, it doesn't, it doesn't work right now when my people are dying. It's great that folk like Elon Musk want to, bitch and complain about, people getting $600 a week to live and survive when they built their whole lives and companies on $6 billion of federal subsidies and contracts. And so what you're seeing right now is a materialization of work that was done. You're seeing the fruit of seeds planted.
Well, that's what happens when you actually got to do the work. All right, y'all got to go to a break. We come back more on Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. All right, folks, Ceek.com is a black-owned company, and, of course, they have a great deal for those of you who watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. You can get their VR headset or those amazing 360-degree 4D headphones, which is great for music, great for gaming, all kind of different things. You can do that by going to Ceek.com, CEEK.com, using the promo code RMVIP2020. You can also join and subscribe to Ceek.com. This is a virtual reality website. Mary Spiel, she is a sister, she is the founder of this company. And so, again, you can use the promo code right here, RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020, to get a discount for those VR headsets and for those headphones. All right, folks. I told you we have the video queued up when Senator Kamala Harris was speaking in Atlanta after the Democratic debate in 2019 with the women from Higher Heights. I want to play some of that for you. Here it is.
Well, before you leave, I just want you to help me, please, and the audience, I'll ask your help as well, to please help us welcome to the stage Senator Kamala Harris.
Please applaud the Congresswoman, Marcia Fudge. And I said this, we had a little meeting earlier today, and I said this in front of some of our leaders, but I just want to say this publicly. Marcia Fudge is an incredible national leader. She is a voice always that speaks truth, even when it may make people uncomfortable, but it needs to be spoken. She is extraordinary. I've seen her in rooms where there are cameras. I have seen her in rooms where there are no cameras, and she is always the same person, speaking about the issues that must be spoken and heard, on everything from national security to what we need to do around civil rights. Yeah, please have a seat. But I just want to talk about her as a sister girl. Because from the beginning, Marcia, you have been so incredibly supportive of me. And through the ups, through the downs, you are just consistently there. And your leadership, your advice, your counsel, your friendship, your love mean the world to me. So can we please hear it from Marcia Fudge? Okay? And travel safely. Travel safely. Travel safely.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Okay. Good morning.
Welcome.
Good. I'm glad to be with everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Good morning.
Congratulations on a great performance last night.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So I have a ton of questions, but I know you have limited time, and your staff is telling me I need to welcome the other panelists to the stage now.
Yes,
so let me please help me welcome an amazing marketing exec, globally known, Kim Blackwell. Please join us on the stage. And thank you. And we're also joined by one of our hosts for the day, Linda Carr, the CEO and president of Higher Heights. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I still haven't woken up this morning. I'm just thanking you publicly. What I meant to say is we have a representative from the ACLU with us. Yes, thank you.
Andrea Young.
Miss Young, Miss Adrienne Young, thank you. Thank you for joining us. This is an amazing panel. I just want to take a moment and remind everybody, because so many people seem to forget, that voters look a lot more like the people on this stage and in this room than they do like everybody else. Yet we're talked to the least. But anyway, I digress. So back to last night. It was an amazing performance. I think it was really great for America to see some contrast between you and the other candidates.
Yes.
And I want to start with, there were so many moments you had last night, but I want to start with the moment you had with Mayor Pete Buttigieg, because I think that really spoke to what a lot of black voters wanted to hear. I appreciate your response this morning about not comparing struggles, but talk a bit, if you will, about black voters, your black voter strategy, and what your campaign has been doing to reach out to this constituency group.
Thank you, Tiffany, and to everybody on the stage and everybody here. There's so many leaders in the room and certainly on this stage, and I'm honored to be with you and under one roof together, because I know that so many of us are often the only one like us in a room. And so I hope that everyone can use this moment to also look around the room and remember that when we are in those rooms, seemingly the only one, that we're all together in that room. And let's always remember that and hold that close. So you mentioned, I did an interview after the debate, and I talked about the fact that those of us who have been involved in civil rights for a long time, we know that it is important that we not compare struggles. It is not productive, it is not smart, and it is strategically, it works against what we need to do, which is build coalition. There's so much of my work that has been grounded in, as the slogan of my campaign, for the people, which is, in its essence, a statement about the fact that we agree that a harm against any one of us is a harm against all of us, and therefore that no one should be made to fight alone. So we know that in our ongoing fight for civil rights, if any one of us starts to differentiate ourselves in a certain way, and in particular what he did on the stage, it's just not productive, and I think it's a bit naive. In terms of what we need to do around outreach, you know, Marcia talked about her report. Stacey Abrams has been an extraordinary leader. You know, we would be calling her Governor Stacey Abrams were it not for voter suppression. And so, you know, I tend to be a realist, right? Which is that, okay, so this is what we got. What we have is a situation where in 2013, the United States Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act. And immediately thereafter, at least 24 states started passing through their state legislatures laws that were specifically designed to suppress the black vote. And in some areas, the Latino vote, in some areas, the Native American vote, in some areas, students from voting. And to the point that we'll all remember in North Carolina, the Court of Appeals said that that state had written a law that with surgical precision, were the words that were used in the Court of Appeal review, was designed to suppress the black vote. So the challenge that we have in activating folks to vote is a very real one, because there are historical and current institutional barriers that have been designed to suppress black folks from voting, including what has happened here in Georgia around the purging of the voter rolls. So what do we do about that? Well, we need to litigate, we need to support the ACLU, we need to support all of the folks who are doing the work on the ground to fight against that. But we're going to also have to support, you know, our faith-based community, our nonprofit organizations that are helping people get around the obstacles to voting so that they register to vote and they have the willingness and the support to stand in line while they otherwise have to work 2 and 3 jobs to vote. We also have to deal with the misinformation campaign that is what is the Russian interference. That is real. I am the only person on the debate stage who serves on the Senate Intelligence Committee, and have therefore been in what's called a SCIF meeting with the American intelligence community with classified information about the threats to our national security and hotspots around the world. We just recently published our report about how when Russia decided to attack America's democracy, because it is a long-standing foe, right? It is a long-standing, we have a long-standing relationship of conflict. So they said, well, you know, we can't build an army because they don't have the economic power or the military strength that we do to attack us that way. They said, well, let's attack America based on one of its strengths, which is that it is a democracy, flawed though it may be, and compromise the American public's confidence in their election system. So that was the design, right? That was the purpose. And then they said, okay, let's get them going at each other. And then they tested out a couple of ideas to see what would generate heat. Almost think of it like a science project, right? What would generate the heat? And guess what? In so doing, they exposed America's Achilles heel. The thing that generated the most heat was race. So the irony of it is that this is now not only a matter of civil rights and social justice and equality, this is now a matter of national security. And the concern I have, and you have, I'm sure, read, and there's a Wall Street Journal article, others, my campaign has often been the #1 target of Russian bots in this election. And it's a misinformation campaign. And so on top of the, what I call the classic voter suppression, we now have a misinformation campaign in addition. And, as we were talking about it earlier, we've got to figure out ways to remind folks to not get played. And part of that is, and I know Andrea has some ideas about that based on the work you're doing with the ACLU.
All right, folks, that was, again, Senator Kamala Harris speaking to Higher Heights in Atlanta. That was after the Democratic debate in late 2019. Let's go back to my panel here. And we are 83 days away from voting. I want to show you this here. Vote.org, folks. If you go to vote.org, what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to, you can register. You can register right there. You can check that out. You can go online, check your registration. You can, and again, 83 days until Election Day. You can register to vote, vote by mail, get election reminders, pledge to register, polling place locator, and also fill out the 2020 census. All of that is critically important, Eugene, because when we begin to talk about getting excited about somebody being picked, well, that's great, but at the end of the day, you got to be in a situation where you are voting, where you are registered to vote, and we must be fully prepared. Donald Trump and the Republicans are going to throw everything at black people to suppress the vote.
Listen, men lie, women lie, votes don't. All right? And we live in a game, we live in a voting situation where it's all about margins. If a couple more folk turned out, you would have Stacey Abrams right now protecting the Georgia election. If a couple more folks turned out, you would have Andrew Gillum protecting the Florida election. You would have Andrew Gillum having coronavirus in Florida under control. It literally comes down to voting. We can be excited all we want for whatever candidate we want, but at the end of the day, it comes down to voting. Back to our white progressive friends that are upset. Hey, maybe you should have turned down some votes other than your own, and you would have the candidate that you want. But at the end of the day, November 3rd, when this election happens in 83 days, people have to turn up, turn out, donate, and vote. That's what it comes down to. This could be a long, drawn-out situation, or at 1, 2 a.m. after California closes their ballots, we can be calling it and congratulating President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris.
Brittany, again, folks must be prepared. They're going to try it. They're going to try everything they can. We must be in position to make sure if your state has voter ID, we got to get it. If you got possibly purged from the voting rolls, register again. We must be fully prepared for what is about to come, for the attack that's about to come for us. Because again, if black folks didn't matter, they wouldn't be trying so hard to keep us from voting.
Absolutely. And we know Donald Trump is going to do, and his administration, they're going to do everything that they possibly can to ensure, or at least attempt to ensure, that Donald Trump gets reelected for another 4 years. And I don't put anything past him or the administration. We're dealing with a narcissist. And let me say again, Roland, for the people, and granted, I have my criticisms of Biden and Harris. Trust me, I get it. But again, we are waging a different type of war if we have to have another 4 years of Trump and Pence. Get out and vote.
Kelly, final comment.
Go vote. I understand that we're frustrated. I echo the sentiments of Brittany. This ticket was not my first choice. I did not want Biden to be our nominee. Certainly was not expecting Harris to be the VP nominee. However, this is what it is, and you just got to deal with it. Go vote, because if you really want to make change at this juncture, you need to go vote, because otherwise we're going to get 4 more years of the same, and you're already complaining about the 4 years that we've been through. So unless you want to complain some more, you need to go vote, specifically for Biden and Harris, because we only have 2 viable choices at this point. I understand that there are third parties out there, but all that's going to do is split the vote between Biden and Trump. It's not going to make a difference. Your third party is not going to win the White House if you vote third party. It's only going to compromise who really needs to be there, which is Biden. So take this next 24 hours, get the frustration out your system. I don't care. Run around the park, jog, social distance in doing so. But at the end of the day, get over it, vote for Biden and Harris, and then let the chips fall where they may after that.
Got it.
This is not a situation where you just vote and do nothing. Once they're in, then you can advocate on their behalf.
Got it. Kelly, Brittany, Eugene, I really appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about these sisters who have created a website that can also give you information on the power of voting. That's next on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Roland Martin Unfiltered. Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. All right, folks, be sure to support us at Roland Martin Unfiltered by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to do what we do. I'm going to shout out the people who've given $50 or more. If you give $50 or more, you get a personal shout out from me. So Angela Blackman, Dana Johnson, Dr. Ralph Austin Jr., Emery Fuller, Frederick Reed, Janice Taylor, Joan Malazewski, Jocelyn Spite, Karan Anderson, Leonard Wilson, Michael Grady, Orlando Morell, Paul Ewan, Ralph West II, Riley Hanson, Shalita, Serena Woodard, Terrence Lorick, and William Hutchings. All right, folks, you can join our Bring the Funk fan club going to Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. You can also join us, paypal.me/R Martin Unfiltered. Then, of course, we got Venmo. You can join us via Venmo, venmo.com/RM Unfiltered. You can also send us a money order to New Vision Media Inc., NU Vision Media Inc., 1625 K Street Northwest, Suite 400, Washington, D.C., 2006. Again, that's where you can send the information to us. And again, our goal is to get 20,000 of you contributing $50 or more. That's our goal by the end of the year. We're close to 11,000, so which means that we got 9,000 more. We want to hit that mark by the end of the year, and so we certainly want you to join us, making it possible, because your dollars make it possible for us to bring you the kind of content we do live every day. Nobody else is doing what we do on the digital platform. on, and that is speaking to the issues that impact African Americans. And that's why we want you to join our Bring the Funk fan club. And so please, you can see right here, Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. More than 5,420 of you are watching us right now on YouTube. You can also give right there on YouTube as well. And if you want to get the gear that we have, Roland Martin Unfiltered, just go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com where you can actually get our show gear. All right, folks, I want to show y'all this new site that these sisters have put together. It's called Politicking. It's a nonpartisan site, and they're all about trying to get again folks updated on elections and campaigns and all that sort of good stuff. And so, folks, are the guests there? If so, Jordan Wilson and Winkuni Sayant. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
That's correct, Roland.
All right, glad to have y'all on the show. So tell our audience first, this is our Tech Talk segment. I meant for us to show the stinger. What the heck? Y'all go ahead and show the stinger, then I'll come back.
Well, thanks for having me.
No, hold on one second. Y'all fire the stinger. Anthony, fire the stinger, then I'll come back to them. I want to thank the people with Ceek.com for being a sponsor of this Tech Talk segment. All right, so let's get to it. Jordan, what is politicking? What is it?
You were right on, Roland, but I want to be sure to let you know that Politicking is an app and web-based political platform for people to learn about elections. We're specifically targeting young, Black, brown, and marginalized voters. We're also targeting disconnected voters, people who don't consider themselves politicos, who may not have been as well-versed as the wonderful panelists that you have, but who absolutely have to exercise their right to vote. We inform people on elections in a nonpartisan fashion. We don't really have a leaning towards who people vote for. We just want to make sure that they're participating in the election and that they're doing so in an informed way. You know, unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of civic literacy in our formative years. I certainly didn't. We didn't learn a lot about how to make sure a mayor will actually represent the interests that we want, or that a gubernatorial candidate will actually care about our social services. But politicking, as you articulated earlier, about presenting and understanding where a candidate stands on the issues, absolutely informs people for who will actually represent the interests that they are most concerned about. We do this at a local, state, and federal level. We're capturing every level of government.
So when you talk about that, what information, Winkuni, can people find? What information can they find that's different and unique on politicking on the app and the website?
Yeah, so the unique thing about politicking, Roland, is the fact that it allows you to really start with compiling a voter ID card. So really what we do is we allow people to proliferate their information from their address, and from there we're able to fill in information about state, local, and federal elections. Not only who's currently representing them, but who's also going to be competing against those incumbent candidates in the election. Moreover, we're able to demystify amendments and referendums and breaking down what those actual amendments and referendums mean in layman terms, and what a vote yes means and what a vote no means, because we understand that legalese jargon is often meant to convolute communities like ours. And so we're able to really demystify that process. We're also able to provide information like local polling precincts, current events through our 411 feature, and then general civics information breaking down the Electoral College to the popular vote and everything in between. That's all right.
People, Jordan, I'm sorry. Here's the website. It's right here, politicking. And people, I love what y'all say. Stop waiting, start politicking. And it kills me when I see these people who love to complain, but they don't. But it's like, well, we don't have the information. We don't have this. Look, y'all are saying we've already done the work for you. We've done it. Just click the damn site or go to the app.
Yeah, that's all right. People do a lot of complaining. I've heard a lot today, as you said. Kamala Harris is not going to go without criticism, even amongst her own community, and that's Black people, and that's okay. We should be critical, we should do research, and we should absolutely hold electeds accountable. And so politicking has that particular mantra because we want people to know whatever issue is of most concern with you is at least covered in some way and broken down through politicking, and this is the day-to-day stuff like education, social services, and maybe some of the more abstract things like where people stand on criminal justice reform. But I'd like to actually give a lot of credit to not just the complaining, but the protesting that we've seen recently. I think it's important that people understand that we are aligned and we are sort of lockstep with the protesting, with a lot of change that people want to see. Don't let it stop in the streets. You absolutely have to take to the ballots. And politicking is where people should start to do that research around which candidates will absolutely stand for widespread change.
Win Cooney, go ahead.
Yeah, to echo Jordan's sentiments, it's unequivocally important that we vote in the year 2020. Jordan and I are both Howard women. So like the rest of the United States, we were excited to see who Joe Biden picked, but it's not enough to be excited. We have to actualize change at the ballots and really make sure that this continues beyond the November elections. I'm from South Florida, and we actually have a very important election coming up August 18th. And it's really, really important that we fundamentally emphasize the importance of local elections. And that's really what politicking focuses on. It's not just important to vote in November for your president, but it's really important to vote for those local politicians who are mitigating policy in your backyard. And that's what politicking helps you with, in arming yourself with local, state, and federal information.
All right, folks. Again, the app and the site is called Politicking. Check it out. Jordan and Wincuni, they are the founders of it, and so we certainly appreciate the work that they are doing. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you for this opportunity, Roland.
All right, folks, we got to go. We got more news to be covering you tomorrow. We shall see you then. Don't forget, join our Bring the Funk fan club. Go to the website, RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Don't forget, you can also listen to the audio podcast on the iHeartRadio app. My commentaries also air on the iHeart Black Information Network. And we are doing great things. I got some amazing things I want to be able to announce real soon. And so looking forward to it as well. So thank you so very much for all of you. We hit more than 6,000 live on YouTube, nearly 2,000 on Facebook. We're just going to keep building this thing and keep building this thing because we speak to the issues that Black folks care about, and we ain't afraid to say it. All right, y'all. I'll see you tomorrow. Remember, Shirley Chisholm, unbought and unbossed. Trust me, the spirit of Shirley Chisholm is alive today with today's selection of Senator Kamala Harris as Joe Biden's vice presidential pick. More on that tomorrow on Roland Martin Unfiltered.